Oscar Conlon-Morrey. Welcome to Theatre Therapy Thursdays here at West End Best Friend.
Burt, Bunk and Dirt, how the devil are you, darling?
You know what, I'm great because I've wanted to have a naughty drink whilst doing an interview for a while, and who better to have a naughty drink with?
Alcoholics together.
Chin chin.
I'm anonymous. Cheers.
For everyone who doesn't know who Oscar Conlon-Morrey is, who is Oscar Conlon-Morrey?
Oh gosh, this is like actual therapy. Who is Oscar Conlon-Morrey? Well, Oscar Conlon-Morrey doesn't really know, is the truth. But many people tell me that I am a musical theatre performer.
When did the spark begin?
Super young. It was my way of being different without telling everyone I was a homosexual, I expect. So when I started to know, that was about 6 or 7. And so I poured myself into being an entertainer and making people with that and not. I mean, now it's just gone the other way. Look at me, I'm sat inside a gay grotto in the middle of North London. It's absolute nonsense.
Merry Christmas.
Very Merry Christmas. I put my tree up, do you want to see it? Look, it's got Santa at the top, or is it Paul Hutton? We'll never know.
Who knows?
Who knows? So yeah, 6 or 7 probably, and I was a chorister. I was a choir boy, because that was the only way that I could go to a nice school, because my parents couldn't afford it otherwise. So I got a, what's it called? Scholarship to go and sing as a choir boy. And then that ran out, and I went to a state school, which was terrifying for me at that time because I was very posh. And then I found their drama department, and then that kind of cultivated, and I decided, right, I'm going to do this as a profession. So I went to drama schools. I thought I was a serious actor. I thought I was the next Kenneth Branagh. So I went to all the acting schools. I went to RADA and Guildhall and those places, and tried to be an actor. Nowhere wanted me because my hair was literally down to my arse. It was just ringlets. And I was like, well, they'll take me for my individuality, but they looked at me and were like, what on earth can we cast him in? I was like, okay, well, this isn't for me, so I need to rethink. And I did do a rethink, and someone said to me, can you genuinely ever see yourself doing a show where you don't sing? And I was like, do you know what? Actually, no. It's my chief joy in life. I think music has an emotive sense to it that no other medium does. It's such a nostalgia trip, isn't it? You hear something, chords in a certain formation, you go, oof, that takes me back to this place. That's what I've pursued, and luckily I've been very, very lucky with it.
You went to Mount View. Have I made that up?
No, you haven't. You're quite right. I did. How
was training for you? How were those 3 years? And how was the transition from training and then into the industry and then actually getting a job and starting your career in something that you've always wanted to do?
Training was the most difficult 3 years of my life, but the most fun I've ever had, ever. And they say, you know, you make your friends for life at university, or in my case, drama school, and it's absolutely true. Like there's 3 or 4, maybe 5 people that I have just connected with and taken in through my life from that point. And the training there is just exceptional. And then the transition out of Mount View was quite painless for me because I was cast in the Toxic Avenger straight after finishing school.
And what was something so off the wall and crazy and mad, like Toxic, for a first job? What was that like?
It was mental because we started at the Edinburgh Fringe first. And it's the perfect show for the Fringe. It's just off-the-wall lunacy. And we had quite small audiences there because it was a small venue, not because they weren't coming. It was mad. And it is mad. And I was playing 15 characters, 13, 14, I don't know. And it was just fun. And I lost so much weight. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Broadway HD video, but I looked like an 1/8 of my current self. So that was just joyous. But then we took it to the West End, and the show was lengthened because it could only be an hour at the Fringe. And so we all had a lot more to do, and people just did not know what to do with it. But as a result, it gathered this kind of cult following.
What the best musical to do?
Isn't that weird? But yeah, it was so much fun. Might take you to my wall if we're going to do this little timeline.
Absolutely. Let's go down the memory lane of Oscar's CV.
Here we go. Okay. This was A Midsummer Night's Dream. It was my last show at Mount View where I played Bottom, which isn't my usual role. And then I finished that and went straight into, I'm climbing on the bed now, so if I fall over, I'm sorry. I went into Toxic, which was at the Art Theatre. Then I did this Sondheim show, Just Another Love Story, which was also at the Arts Theatre. You can't really see it very well. And then, which is one of my favourite jobs, I did Joseph at Kilworth House. Just the most gorgeous group of people. Then I went and did Nativity.
Amazing.
Danny Dyer. All these people. And I covered Simon Lipkin as Mr. Poppy. Went on as Mr. Poppy a few times, which was joy.
Amazing.
And that takes us to modern day, to where we are now. Well, not quite now, because now I'm just sat and twiddling my thumbs. But now, Only Fools and Horses musical going into my second year, hopefully in April.
You were part of the original cast of Only Fools, weren't you?
I was the first person to be cast because I'd done the workshops for it back in 2017, long time ago. I had such a love of the show, of the original series, and there are certain things in our culture that you just do not touch, and that was one of them. So I just thought it was madness that they were considering A, putting this on stage with people other than the original cast, and B, making it a musical, which the majority of the demographic of the audience of Only Fools and Horses, the series, are going to be like, musical? I'm not going to know musical. So we were terrified. But when I knew that John Sullivan, who wrote Only Fools and Horses, the series, when I realised it was his idea to bring it to the stage, along with Chaz and Dave, and make it a proper Cockney knees up, it just had the gold seal, because that was then permission to go, okay. That then became a joy, because we were effectively just getting a group of people who've never been to the theatre before, most of them, into the Haymarket and saying, you love Only Fools and Horses, let's give you a couple of hours with those characters that you enjoy so much. And I will never forget that we did one matinee performance, and a guy was at the stage door afterwards, and he looked like a long-lost Mitchell brother, like he was skinhead, tattoos up his face, a couple of gold teeth. Like, I came out of the stage door and he just burst into tears, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like, I just want to say thank you so much. I love Only Fools and Horses. I've never been to the theatre before, but I just wanted to tell you how much I loved it, and I loved it so much that I've just booked the evening performance of Waitress.
That is everything.
Everything. And I died, because that's gorgeous, and it's bringing him into the world of theatre, and that's really, really special. So I've got a lot to thank Only Fools for, and that's one of them.
That's so, as well, like, it took off, didn't it? And it started selling out. And so what was that like, to then just be presented with house after house that were loving it?
Well, we had an inkling, because we started taking bookings the Christmas before, and we smashed all box office records. We took, I think it was 8 million before we opened. So we knew then that this was something that was going to, take off. For over a year, I think a year and 5 weeks, we didn't have one show that wasn't sold out. When you're on stage, how many people are in that audience? You can feel that energy. And every single show was just high octane. You cannot give anything less than your very best, because they won't allow you to, because you're feeding directly off that buzz from the audience. So yeah, it was incredibly special, and it also meant that we got to stay in work for a long time, and
always a dream.
I could afford my gay grotto, so here we are.
Now, where we are in the world, 2020 has dealt everyone like an awful blow. How did you, as an artist, being someone who had effectively lost their job, did you take that time to throw yourself into other things, or were you like, do you know what, darling? This is the time where I can just chill with a bottle of Beaujolais and get through all of those box sets that I've been meaning to for a long time?
Very much the latter. I've never really been a fan of this pressure from my community and my industry to be creative all the time. I think it's not viable, which is a nice word that we tend to use at the moment. If you are putting pressure on yourself to be creative, the work is never going to be to the standard that it should be, because that has to happen organically. And what did happen quite organically for me was that on the night that we were told the theatres were closing, myself and the cast of Only Fools, bear in mind at this point we didn't really know what Corona was to the extent of we all went to the pub and we got absolutely obliterated because we didn't know when we were going to see each other again. I mean, we were pretty confident at that point it was maybe going to be a week, 2 weeks, not nearly a year, which it will be when we reopen in April. So we went and got absolutely obliterated, and then I ended up on the tube singing songs through the window into the next carriage.
Not just any Sondheim, Follies.
Follies, it was Follies, yeah.
It's like I'm losing my mind.
My friend then posted it via my Twitter, because I was too pissed. And I would have posted it myself, but he put it on for me. And I totally forgot about it, went to bed, and woke up the next morning to well over, I think, 6,000 notifications of just retweets, quote tweets. And I wasn't very good at Twitter. I'm not very good at Twitter. But I was like, oh, bloody hell, this has taken off. And that kind of then organically, I just thought, that's what I can do. That's what I can give during this time is to try and make people laugh. That's always what's kept me going. As a clown, I've always wanted to entertain. So that's what I decided to do. And it wasn't a case of trying to put myself out there or trying to be creative. It was just a case of, oh, that's funny. I'll do a video about that. And maybe some people might enjoy it. And that just built and built and built. And I think I've done 25 or 30 videos now.
The most recent one we had was the You'll Be Back parody with everyone, and you got all of the King Georges involved and everything like that. How was that for you, getting these people involved, producing something like that, and then it being embraced and adored in the way that it was?
I felt it was time then, because that was when we first got the whiff of a second lockdown. And I just was talking to some of those people that feature on the video, actually, and some other friends, and just everyone was an absolute lack of words. Like we'd done everything we could. Venues and producers had done everything they could to make things safe and viable. And to hear that it was going to go into lockdown again was just too much. So I knew I had to do something. And I had been sitting on the idea of We'll Be Back, because that is in neon letters over the old Vic.
Yeah. Yes.
There's We'll Be Back. And I thought, oh, that's clever. Maybe I could do a Hamilton thing. I sent some horrendous lyrics that I had semi-written. I mean, they were just dreadful. I sent them to Eamon O'Dwyer, who's a long-time collaborator, a friend of mine, and a fabulous composer, lyricist. And he came out with the finished lyrics, which I think are gorgeous. So, yeah, and then Chris Kiley, who's Mickey Pierce in Only Fools and Horses, he was my videographer. So it was just using lots and lots of people that I know and love. Gregor Duncan recorded it for me. So, yeah, it was a very special thing that brought a lot of people together, and I'm very grateful for everyone's help and support. And I'm glad it just brought a bit of mirth and joy to people.
You did that Make a Stand video outside of the Haymarket and everything like that. What was that like?
The whole reason they came about was because we'd had enough of the government not listening and not taking note and not realising that this is 1.28 billion pounds injected into the economy every year.
Which is a hell of a lot of money.
Hell of a lot of money. It's 290,000 jobs. And we just weren't receiving any support. And I mean, still to this day, that money that they created and out of nowhere and gave to us, where the bloody hell is it? People are still struggling. So then we knew we had to create those. It was CJ Ranger, who's the director of Only Fools, that made those happen. And we've done them since with Dawn French and Beverly Knight and Nika Burns, Jennifer Saunders, loads of drag queens we did with Ian Stroyer, Velma Celli recently. So they've been brilliant. But to actually see all of the cast together in one place after, I think it was 6 months at that point, of no contact, other than the occasional Zoom quiz, which quickly went out of fashion. It was hard. It is hard. Because all you want to do, they are your family, and all you want to do is you want to wrap your arms around them. So it's going to be a real period of adjustment, I think. Whatever the new normal is, whenever we go back, it's going to be intense. But there's no people like show people. We are a resilient lot.
And also, we'd be remiss to not talk about the fact that you got the opportunity to film First Date and do that during lockdown, which is exciting because that's like, aside from workshops, that's never been premiered in the UK. So what was that like to do such a fun and like original musical?
I'm not a great example of nuance or subtlety, so I really struggle in front of a camera. But the joyous thing about this piece was that it's so heightened anyway, and I was so aware of the style because it's very similar to... Did you ever watch Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
I've seen some of it.
I just loved it. I binged the whole thing. It's the same writers that did First Date. I kind of got what the style was quite early on. And so it was a lot of fun. And I realised that I didn't need to be less big. I just needed to be clearer with intentions. Like, there's so many huge performances out there on screen. Jim Carrey, for example, and Robin Williams to the same extent. So it's not about your size. It's about
your clarity
of intention. I think that would be my kind of what I've taken away from it. And yeah, and the cast were gorgeous. Simon I knew, of course, from Nativity. Nick was at Mountain View at the same time I was. He's just fabulous. And yeah, that was the first time I'd worked and met with Danielle and Sam, but just adore them. Beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm so glad that you had that amazing experience. We loved it. I'm pretty sure we gave it a 5-star. We had a great time.
Nothing better have done.
So, Oscar, my sweet angel, we're going to move into a section now called How to Succeed in Quiznos Without Really Trying.
Are you going to quiz me? I'm so bad.
Yeah, I do become quiz team at Aguilera. Oscar Conlon-Morrey, we have 3 questions based on 3 of the contracts of your past.
No, because I'm not good.
Year.
I'm not good. Because as soon as it goes in, it's out again. But okay, I'll try.
Okay, so we've got an Only Fools question, a Toxic Avenger question, and a Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat question. Number 1. How many series did Only Fools and Horses run for?
7?
Perfect! On the nose! Absolutely smashed it.
Smashed it.
This is a tough one, but it is what it is. What off-Broadway theatre did the Toxic Avenger premiere at?
Oh, God.
I'll give you a clue.
Oh my God, but is it going to be a clue that I will get?
I don't know, but it's a clue nonetheless, so you can't say I didn't help you. I'll give you several productions that have played at this venue in the past.
Okay.
The 2011 off-Broadway revival of Rent played at this venue.
Right.
The revival of Bear played at this venue. And when Avenue Q left Broadway to go back off Broadway, it ran at this venue until it closed.
I don't get it. I don't know.
New World Stages.
I just don't know it.
I can't.
I just don't know where it is. I've never been to New York. I'd love to go one day.
So, your finale question. This is a question I have asked in the past, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to ask it again, and I actually asked it to Paul Hutton. So, how many colours are there in Joseph's coat? Do you remember your lyrican, Oscar?
I can only remember the lyrics if I do the choreography, Duncan. That's the really bad part.
I'm not saying we don't want to show, but I'm saying if you have to do the choreography, you have to do the choreography.
I'm gonna mark the choreography. It was red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and oak and peach, green and orange and violet and full, lilac and gold and chocolate and blue, cream and crimson. 29.
Perfect. That was an isolated moment of absolute joy. Darling, I'm just going to mark it. Hashtag full out Fiona's the entire choreography.
I hope Andrew Wright is watching and is very proud of me.
Andrew, that was for you. We're moving on to our therapy album section, because as always here, theatre is therapy, music and cast recordings are balm for the soul. Oscar, if I threw you onto a desert island and among your rack of compact discs, because we're going old school. You had to choose one musical theatre album to listen to for the rest of your life. What would it be and why?
That is like choosing between children. I would choose Hades Town by Anise Mitchell.
Yes! That is a smashing choice. Many, many tracks, many, many moods.
Loads of tracks, loads of moods. No two songs are the same other than the epics, which just repeat. I love listening to voices, and Ava Noblezada has the most pure voice I think I've ever heard.
The tone is just beautiful. And then you've got Reeve Carney, who can hit notes that I didn't even know existed. It's not even a falsetto, it's like a thin fold twang, but it's, again, so pure. And then Why We Build the Wall comes on, and Patrick Page... That's my disclaimer favourite track.
Patrick Page sings, I mean, what even is it? I think it might even be a G. Like, it's just obscene. I think it must be the lowest note in music theatre canon. It's just sublime. So yes, I would choose Hades Town.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you what I think is the most difficult question to ask a stagey human. Oscar.
Yeah.
To you, what is the one song that epitomises musical theatre as a form?
Okay, that's the most difficult question you've asked so far.
You're welcome, Chin-Chin.
Thank you, Namaste. I would say there are so many. Liz Calloway singing Meadowlark, cut out my heart, throw it down on the ground. And
my meadow heart, yeah, I get that.
My meadow heart, stamp on it, because it's just beautiful. And it's the storytelling in that.
I mean, it's like we're talking 7 minutes of like...
Oh, it's just but pure joy. I am a massive fantasy nerd. My bookcase is just full of fantasy and witchcraft and the macabre. Lord of the Rings, which I saw 6 times at Drury Lane.
I hate you, I never got to see it and I'm livid.
Oh, it was just stunning. And the song is Lothlorien. And just the moment that Laura Michelle Kelly came down on those yellow silks and just extended her arms over the audience and sang this song, it will stay with me forever as being the most I've ever been moved in a theatre. And I wasn't even crying because I was past that point. Yeah, and it's weird because like tonally it's written to be ever so slightly sharp because that's that mystical elven word.
Completely.
And she just rides it so beautifully and atonally. And
not to mention, as you said, she's descending on silks.
Exactly, like she's literally got bruises in her arms because she's having to anchor that much as she's singing, being descended from the roof. But then she's got Wonder as well, and the Wonder reprise. It's kind of those numbers, all Laura Michelle Kelly's numbers as Galadriel in Lord of the Rings will always have a huge piece of my heart. And even Star of the Moon, you know, there's honey in of old renown where they brew a beer so brown. It's going to be Lothlorien.
Lothlorien, fair. Okie dokie, so here is the incandescent Laura Michelle Kelly singing Lothlorien from Lord of the Rings.
On the days that remain, this is the promise I make. No shadow fall across this land. Before the wind and fire I stand, and you, my child, will know no harm, enfolded in my arms.
So that was Laura Michelle Kelly. That was Lord of the Rings. Dual revival. Theatre producers, theatre world, give us what we need. Finally, for this little theatre therapy section, Oscar, this has been a weird year and a weird time. I, like many people, just refer to music to kind of get us through or to just like dance it out when the chips are down. When the chips go down.
Oh, chips are down.
Is there any particular style of music, be it musical theatre or not, albums or playlists that you found to have really been your solace in like a time like this?
I'm not supposed to say it because amongst the Sondheim elite, it's considered blasphemous. But there is an album, this cannot go to the Sondheim Society because I am an ambassador and they will throw me out. There is an album called A Disco Sondheim Fever Dream, which is arrangements of Sondheim's songs put to disco tracks.
Like Ethel Merman's disco album.
Literally like Ethel Merman's disco. I'm so proud of you for knowing that. Yes, like Ethel Merman's disco album. But it is just incredible. And I listen to it all the time. You want to have the curse reversed? Da, 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 da. It's just joyous. I just dance around my little gay grotto singing it. So that's my main one. And then I'm one of those horrendous people. I'm such a fan of musical theatre still. And there's a big thing in the industry where it's not cool to be a fan of musical theatre and be a professional.
It's not cool to be stagey. Yeah, if you're a professional actor, you can't be stagey.
That's exactly it. And
do you know what I mean? Everyone's like, you're so stagey. And I was like, I can be both.
You both. I'm so versatile. So I'd always adored musical theatre. That's the reason I do it. So I'm not going to stop being a fan because I'm in it. Like, I just...
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I love it. So I don't tend to listen to any other music. 80s rock, bit of Queen.
Yes.
Is great. Bit of Rush, which is a Canadian rock band I love. I'm quite emo, so I like My Chemical Romance and bands like that. But no, if I'm listening to anything, it's going to be musical theatre.
So now it's time for questions of the besties. People have typed in and want to ask you a little question. Oh, this is in reference to your tweet the other day, actually, which I really enjoy. Well done, Dan. So Dan wants to know, who would you cast in your production of Nightmare Before Christmas?
Who would I cast? Oh, that's so hard.
Because you tweeted saying you'd be mayor of Halloween Town, and I was like, that is perfect.
That would be my dream. And Scott Page would have to job share it with me.
So who would be your Jack? Who would be your Sally?
My Jack would... Oh, my God. Because they've got to be really lanky and really kind of ethereal, but like a great tenor. So maybe Ben Irish?
That's a great choice.
Could be Ben Irish. Could be lots of people. But I would love to see Ben do it. And my Sally, Amy Atkinson, or Georgia Louise.
Oh, Georgia, yeah. She'd be a great Sally.
She'd be a fabulous Sally. She'd be fabulous. I mean, it's difficult with those roles because they're not like particularly characterful.
I know. Who would be your Oogie Boogie?
Who would be my Oogie Boogie man? I'd love to see Le Gâteau Chocolat do it.
Oh, great choice. Oh, that's fantastic.
Fabulous.
That's fantastic. Emma would like to know, who's your biggest inspiration?
Who's my biggest inspiration? I would probably say Nathan Lane. I love everything that man has ever done. From Birdcage through to Lion King.
I love that.
Oh my God, it's just perfect. Through to the producers. Through to Angels in America. Like, his history.
What a performance.
I mean, it's just sublime. Everything he does is so well purposed and directed. So, yeah, Nathan Lane's inspiration, definitely.
Eliza would like to know, what's your dream show?
I'm hoping it's Eliza from Lambert Jackson, so whatever I say will be made to happen. I've just said producers. I would so happily play I would like to do a one-man producers.
I would pay a hell of a lot of money to see that.
It would please me so much.
Finally, I like this question. Tom asks, who is the best person you've ever worked with?
I probably learnt the most from Simon Lipkin. on Nativity. And he kind of schooled me with First Date as well, because he had a lot of experience with camera work and I didn't. Yeah, he is just a joy. But I would say the person that I worked with that I got the most from, or that I found the most inspirational, was I don't bloody know. It's so hard. That's such a hard question. Yeah, Simon Lipkin. But the reason I'm having problems saying that is because if he does see this, I will never ever live it down. Because Simon found out whilst we were doing Nativity that I had written my dissertation at drama school on his performance in Assassins at the Menier Chocolate Factory. And I told him this whilst I was pissed. And he has never forgotten. And so every time I see him, he introduces me to a group of people as I'm the guy who wrote about him and he gave me my degree.
The basis of Oscar's dissertation.
Exactly. So every time he says, "Hey, thank you," and I was like, "What for?" "For me getting you your degree." Shambles.
Love that. Oscar, you absolute dream. Thank you for coming to chat to us today about your career and your love for theatre and fine wine. And it's wonderful that I've managed to make my glass last the entire interview. So very proud of me.
Thank you so much for having me, love. It's been a joy.
Pleasure. It's been a joy. Stay safe, stay creative, and stay fabulous.
Always. And you, my darling. All the love. Mwah!